Hey everybody, welcome to the Unknown MMA Room. I'm your host Rory, and I'm here with Eryk Anders, your boy, who's going to be taking on Khalil Roundtree. Actually, in a 4:13, which is tomorrow. Eryk, how are you feeling?
Hey, I'm doing awesome. And yourself?
Doing pretty good, man. And right off the bat, I wanted to ask some questions that were kind of not related to MMA, just so people could get to know you better. I know people understand that you played for Alabama. You were a crucial part on that team that won a national championship. And the first question that comes to my mind is, did you actually watch the 2010 NFL draft? Because I know you had 7 teammates get drafted, and I always wondered how you felt about that. Because I know like football was your passion over MMA.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I watched. I thought that I was going to get drafted, so I was glued to the TV waiting for that phone call.
And I know you've seen like people like Tim Tebow. I think Rolando McClain went that year. Guys like Gronk. There's a lot of people that actually have. It's weird because people have started their career at that time and are actually done right now. And I feel like you're just in the midst of hitting your stride in your MMA career.
Yeah, but, the NFL stands not for long, and I think the average career is 3 or 4 years, if that. So, MMA, you can kind of pace yourself, and you dictate your success. If you win, you go on. If you lose enough, then they're going to cut you. So, the NFL is not quite that way.
And being a part of both worlds, how do you feel? Like, is there a big difference you notice between NFL level prospect athletes versus MMA fighters as far as athleticism goes, or is it kind of just both being like the pinnacle of athleticism?
I think they're both the pinnacle of athleticism. That's kind of like comparing like basketball players to soccer players in a sense. Both sports require different tools, different athletic ability, and it's two different sports. So I think the guys can make the transition from one to the next. You see it more so uh, from football to MMA, but you know. No, I think it's just two totally different uh, things.
Yeah, it's like it's definitely a different skill set for sure. And another question we have is, it looks like you made that change to Factory X. I don't know if it's permanent or if it's just for this camp, but what's that like for you going into this next fight?
It's great. I know my cardio is going to be great. Coach Mark Montoya is a hell of a coach, and him and my coach Chris Conley have been able to team up, and man, I'm feeling really good, really prepared, and ready to do the damn thing.
And then you'll have Chris Conley in your corner, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
Right. And then I know often too also a lot of fighters say they often visualize the fight in their head before it happens, especially when you're this close to actually performing in the octagon. So have you visualized this one in your head, and do you see it actually getting past the first round? Because a lot of the fans are wondering that as well. Like most fans these days are thinking that this fight's definitely not going to get out of the first round, and if it does, it favors you because of the cardio.
Yeah, I think that this fight favors me. Goes out of the first round or not, yet to be remains to be seen. But um, like you said, the longer it goes on, the more it favors me. So, I think we're gonna meet in the middle, touch gloves, and get right to work. So we'll see what happens.
And I think that's another thing that has the fans going crazy over this one because a few of your opponents in the past tend to be like point fighters, guys that like to circle around the cage and just, tap you a little bit and just, never really want to meet you and feel the power that you possess. So it's good that you're finally going to get somebody that's going to stand toe to toe with you and really want to face you.
Yeah, this is a good one. Even Joe Rogan said it during the weigh-ins just not too long ago that it's going to be a hell of a fight, and I think so too.
And as far as Khalil goes, where would you rank him as far as one of your toughest opponents so far? I know it's going up in weight, and you've also faced Thiago Santos, and who is now going to challenge for a title. But where would you rank him amongst the fighters that you would consider your toughest opponents?
I think he's the most dangerous, especially early. He's got that one punch knockout power. I think all his wins, he may have like one or two decisions, but the vast majority of them are knockouts. So, you know, some definitely got something I keep my eye on. But it'll be a storm to weather at first, but I'm quite confident I'll make it to the other side of that storm and make him weather one of myself.
I think a lot of people on the internet are thinking that as well. And that also brings me back to wondering, there's not too many fighters right now. I mean, there are a good handful that are floating between two divisions. What do you think the advantages are to that? Because it seems like almost at 205, you have a closer opportunity of getting to the title with a lot of people, not really big names, and there's not really a lot of big finishes right now in 205, people that are making noise. So I wondered if you thought maybe that's a good opportunity for you to get to a belt sooner, which is probably a goal of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. 205 is definitely the shorter road. You see guys like Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, 2 or 3 wins, and they're fighting for a belt. So, it's but I like to fight, and I like to fight often. So, I think being open to 2 different weight classes presents more opportunity for me. So, um, I feel like I'll get there one way or another. So, weight classes, it's not irrelevant to me, but it's not as big a deal as it is for most other fighters.
Nice. And then I noticed also in a past interview I watched with you, you said that you've been a long time MMA fan. I just wondered who are a few of your favorite fighters of all time and some moments that stood out to you.
Uh, Man, the first name that jumps off is Machida. Um, I liked Machida back in the day before I fought him. Um, and there's just so many, man. Matt Hughes. Um, I met Jens Pulver today, or
Uh,
last night. So that was that was pretty cool.
yeah, that's big.
Yeah. So man, there's just a lot of fighters that I've been watching for a long time now, and it's cool to go from fan to fighter, if you will.
And I was going to say, you listing Machida as one of your favorites and then stepping in the octagon with him, that's not really a dynamic that a lot of humans actually get to feel in their life when you like somebody so much and then next thing you know, you're standing across from them.
Yeah, but whenever that fight got signed, I really want. It's not that I wasn't a fan anymore, but I saw him as a guy in the way to get to where I wanted to be. So unfortunately, that one didn't work out well. It didn't go in my favor, but it is what it is.
And then I'm going to jump into some fan questions that we have for you really quick.
Uh,
Uh, the first one would be, what is the biggest learning curve in learning Portuguese, and what's your approach to learning a new language?
uh, Man, the biggest thing is to me is like the sentence structure isn't anything like English, and also you know some of the words are feminine, so you have to say like the female, the gender of the object. Like glove is luva, it's feminine, so you have to say like sua or ele. It's always a feminine word, or some words are always masculine. So you just kind of have to like learn the rules. Uh, you know, um, I guess just like in any language, and just like anything else, man, you got to practice and practice and practice. Luckily my wife is Brazilian, so we speak a pretty good bit of Portuguese at the house.
That's intense. I know that with languages, there's always some kind of rule that they have that's solid that will get you through it. But Portuguese always seemed like one of those ones where I was just lost from the beginning.
Yeah, and it's I guess any language is like this, but like I can understand my wife and my son, but I haven't been like immersed in the in the culture, so I'll speak Portuguese to somebody else from a different part of Brazil, and their accent throws me off. So uh, man, it's just something. It's repetition.
All right, and then we've got a question coming in. Which of your teammates has the coolest array of techniques in their arsenal that you see them pull off in practice often, but they've never really displayed it in the octagon yet? Like a striker that's, somebody that's really dynamic that you see day to day, and you're just waiting for them to open up in the big stage.
And we got a guy in the gym who's an amateur named named David Clark. He's one of those guys. He's a martial arts nerd, and man, there's not a technique that he can't throw. So he practices and when he spars, he does all this crazy like spinning, crazy stuff. But then when he gets in the fight, he's a little bit more conservative, which I guess most fighters are because there's a lot more at stake during the fight than sparring. But uh, he's probably the most dynamic striker in the gym.
So David Clark, a name that we should look out for one day, potentially maybe in the UFC.
Yeah, I think he'll make it.
And then out of your teammates, also, which fighter could you see making a transition to like a head coach one day, or opening up their own gym, training their own fighters?
Man, I think that all the guys that I train with could do that, but I think honestly my kids would make a transition, you know, really, really well because, they'll sit there and watch MMA, my opponents in particular, for hours and hours and hours. And they'll come up with a game plan and tell me their strengths and weaknesses. And they can really, at 7 and 9 years old, really dissect opponents and study them and, see their strengths and weaknesses and tendencies and stuff. So, man, even if these two don't ever fight a day in their life, man, I think they'd make great, great MMA coaches.
Yeah, that's incredible. The skill set just keeps changing in MMA. It evolves over and over again, and sooner or later, these 7-year-olds are going to be 18, probably with 20 fights under their belt, never being in the UFC yet. It's just keeps changing, and something that we'll look out for. But we
Well, the
got
thing is, like my oldest son has been in the gym, not necessarily training, but been in the gym watching and learning since he was like 2 or 3 years old. So by the time he's 18, he's going to have 15 years of experience. When I'm done with my career, I'm not going to have 15 years of experience. So I think that's kind of the trend now.
and it's just going to be wild to see where their sport's at in 30 years. I know it's only been around for 25 so far, but just the next 25, what the next fighter is going to look like and what they're going to have to do to be able to just get a win is going to be insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We got two more questions for you. One is, how do you feel about trash talk to promote fights online like Twitter? And do you think that there's a line that should ever be crossed, or is everything pretty much fair game?
Man, I don't think you should like bring people's family into it. If you want to talk about my haircut or me losing a fight, or if you want to talk about me as a fighter or a person, that's cool. But the families, and bystanders should be kept out of it. As far as trash talk on the internet, man, I think the best way to sell a fight is to go knock somebody out or go submit somebody. You can say all the stuff you want to say on Twitter, but at the end of the day, if you're going out there and running around edging out decisions, man, no one's really going to pay you any attention.
And we all know that there's a lot of fans on Twitter that just like to talk when they're not even really about whatever they're saying, and those people tend to fade out. But I don't know. I just trash talk on Twitter. It seems to work for some guys in the promotion of selling fights. I mean, it looks like it's working for Ben Askren. He got his fight with Masvidal. I don't know if that was a component which led to that, but it couldn't have hurt.
But see, he attacks like the person, and and his trash talk is a little different. Like he calls them nerds, and you know, and it's just Ben Askren. You can tell it's authentic. You can tell that's him.
Yeah,
That's another thing. I think that some guys try to force it. And it kind of makes them look like an asshole, like Kobe Covington.
yeah,
No one thinks that dude is for real or authentic or original. You can tell it's an act, and I think that the fans appreciate it more if that's really who you are. Like I think they appreciate, like me for example. I really don't say a whole lot on the internet, and I always like praise my opponent and things like that. And I think that they can see that I'm a genuine person, so they like me a little bit.
Yeah, definitely a likable guy. And we'll close out with one last question that I always ask every fighter that I talk to. Well, at least every fighter that can answer this question. So, in the UFC, you've actually earned a performance bonus with that KO kick over Tim Williams, which I mean everybody's going to remember that for a very long time. But everyone knows that with that performance bonus, you get an additional 50K. What did you do with that?
Well, I do, man. Me and my wife bought a house. So yeah, we were living in a 2-bedroom condo, and man, I had a good year financially last year, and we were able to buy our first home.
It's an excellent answer, man. And with that, I want to say thank you, Eryk, for doing this interview with me. Good luck on your fight against Khalil Roundtree, and we'll be watching.
Man, appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Shocked if this fight went the distance.
Unknown MMA. Everything you don't know